Alright, so we're asked to factor completely the expression 14r to the third s squared minus 28r squared s to the fourth plus 14r squared s. So to do this, I'm going to use the method of factoring that might be very easy to do. The way that you do it is that you want all the prime factors of every term that we have here. You want to rewrite the entire expression into its primes. So how do you do that? Well, let's take a look at 14. Remember that a prime number is a number that is divisible by itself and by 1, but not by any other number. So for instance, let's say the factors of 14. We know that the factors of 14, well, that will be two numbers that multiply to 14, that will be 2 times 7. Notice how 2 is only divisible by 2 or 1 and not any other factor or any other number. Same thing with 7. 7 is only divisible by itself or by 1. So these two numbers are prime numbers. So if we take a look at 28, the same idea. You want factors of 28 which have to be primes, only primes. So if you factorize 28, 4 times 7 is 28. But you know that 4 is not a prime, so we break that into its prime. So now we have 2 times 2 is 4. And that means that 2 times 2 times 7 is 28. So those are the prime factors of 28. And if you do the same thing to 14, well, we have it over here already. So let's rewrite this expression in terms of its primes. So I have 14. Let me take this off. We have 14. We want to write it into its prime. Well, we know that 2 times 7 is 14 times r to the third. Well, r to the third is the same thing as r times r times r. S squared is the same as s times s. So this is how you write this first expression in terms of its primes. So let's try to do the same thing with the second expression. We have 28. We said that the prime factors of 28 were 2 times 2 times 7. And r squared, well, that's only r times r. R to the fourth, s to the fourth is s times s times s times s. And then again 14, let's put the addition here. 14 will be 2 times 7, so the prime factors. And for r squared, r times r. And because s has no other factors, it's just s by itself, we're just going to rewrite s. So what we're looking for here is that we want to get what they all have in common. You want to take out every number that they all have in common. So for instance here, this first term has a 2, this second term has a 2, and the third term has a 2. So that's what we call a common factor. So let's take a look at the other parts of it. You notice that this has a 7, this term has a 7, and this term has a 7. So that's another common factor. We also see that this term has 1r, this term has 1r, and this term has 1r. So by the same method, this term has another r, this term has another r, and this term has that second r. Now you notice that I can't really use this third r because there's no r in this term and there's no r in this term that is left. So if you take a look at the s's, now we have one s here, one s there, and one s here. Now we can't take out any more s's because even though this has an s and this one has 3 s's, this one has no more s's left. So let's see what we have left. So we have the common factor. Let's see. Common factor will be 2 times 7 times r times r times s. So these are all the factors that all 3 of them have in common, the ones that we circled. So the ones that we have left, I'm going to write them inside this parentheses now. Everything that we have left. So notice I took out the 2, the 7, the R, and the S. So we're just left with R times S. The minus sign is here. And now we're left with a 2 times S times S times S. All these other factors that are circled in orange are gone because we factored them out. We took them out. And same thing happens here. We took everything out from here. So what do we have left? Well, the only thing that is left here is a 1. Why is there a 1? Because eventually at the end, after you multiplied all these terms inside this parentheses, you have to go back to the original expression. Now if I don't write anything here, that will mean that we only have 2 terms. And what we want to do is we want to have 3 terms, just like the original expression. So let's combine everything now. See how everything looks after we combine it. So now we have 2 times 7, which is 14. R times R, which is R squared. And we have an S left. Inside the parentheses, we have R times S, which is the same as writing RS minus 2 times S times S times S. That's the same thing as S to the 3rd power. And the plus 1 that we have left. So this is our final expression. And this is a factor form of the original expression. Now later on, as you get very good at it, you can actually use the more advanced version of this, because obviously you can't do all this type of factoring for every single factor because it takes too long. So you come up with a shorter method, and the shorter method will be the method that you'll learn eventually on the following lesson. Take care.